Good morning, Laura. Do you want to test your audio to make sure it's working?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me now? Yay. Good.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Rachel, I'm going to send out the Zoom link for this morning's meeting to everyone. So that's on the listserv.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Dr.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. We'll have some grace for everyone to get on this morning. We'll start at 8:35 sharp. And if you have not already, please put your name and organization in the chat for us. Thank you. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, Lizanne. How are you?
Great. I just wanted to check and make sure I had your audio working.
Yes, I am here and ready for business.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got just a couple more minutes before we begin. Good morning, everyone. We are grateful that you are here with us this morning. We'll get started. If you have not yet put your name and organization in the chat, please do that for us. And if we could review the December 2021 meeting notes. And we have Eagle Eye Paula Chrysler on the call. So if she's going to find anything, she's going to be it. So here are the minutes from our December 1st meeting. There were no changes made to the previous minutes. And as Maureen McFadden likes to say, Rachel's doing the slow scroll. If you see anything, please shout out and give us your feedback. These were sent out prior to the meeting. Does anyone have any amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
I'll second, but Lizanne, I think it says at the bottom, the next meeting was for today, 2021.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So with that change, we'll approve the minutes, yes? If there are any objections, now's the time to nay. Okay, so happy 2022 to everyone. I'm still saying that, we're still in the first quarter. And happy Groundhog Day. And we're also, today is 2222. So I think we all need to either do something to celebrate that or buy a lotto ticket if you're a gambling kind of person. So I think that Linda Kramer raised her hand. Linda, did you want to offer something up in the executive leadership report? There she is.
I'm not prepared to do that.
No, but you raised your hand up, so I
No,
didn't.
I'm just too uncoordinated to get the buttons right on the chat. But thank you.
Okay.
Happy 2022 to everybody.
Yeah. So what I would say from the executive leadership place is that we are in the midst of conducting an audit on CGIC. And for those of you who are not nonprofit leaders, you all know how painful that is. And yet it's necessary to do. We know that nonprofits that do this quite often can be more competitive. So that's our process for doing that. We've had several funders ask us about it. So we're going through that process now. So if you see my hair on fire one day, you'll know why.
We're doing a 2-year audit.
A
So
2-year.
it's 2020 and 2019, and we're validating the 2018 numbers. So I know Lizanne's having a lot of work here trying to get all that information over to the auditors, but it's kind of interesting how our organization shifted over to, from the sponsorships over to the grant components now. So it's really been a shift in how the organization's structured and funded.
So we will, thank you, Linda. And I think the other piece for us is we will be probably at our next meeting, we'll have an executive team meeting during the month of February. And we'll be bringing on some new board members and voting to approve those. And then we have 2 board positions right now that are open because people left at the end, towards the end of, left the organizations that they were a part of during the last quarter of 2021. So we'll also be looking forward to filling some open board positions. Are there any questions for Linda or I or me for about the executive leadership or anything about CGIC before we move ahead to our awesome presentations for this morning? Okay, hearing none. We're gonna kick it off with Laura. Laura, there she is. Laura Weatherly is the new brand spanking new coordinator for Hope Court. And so many of you know about Hope Court, but I wanted to give some space for Laura to really give us an update about Hope Court and talk about kind of the next phase. They've just gone through a strategic planning session that I heard was really awesome. So take it away, Laura.
Sure. So thank you guys for having us. I know that our court administrator is on here as well, Patricia Merritt. Like Lizanne said, I am the new Hope coordinator for the Hope Court, and Hope Court, Hope stands for Healing Opportunities Through Positive Empowerment. And for those of you who don't know, our mission is to safely assist and protect and prepare victims and survivors in their journey towards restoration by bridging the gap between systems and services in order to provide healing opportunities through positive empowerment. So basically what we are is we are a treatment court, a specialty court within the juvenile court system, where we have identified youth who are either confirmed to have been trafficked, whether it's sex trafficked or if it's labor trafficked, or they're kind of identified as high risk for being possibly trafficked. And so what it is we kind of have a multidisciplinary kind of team with all sorts of different service providers. They have to be trauma informed, so that we can kind of surround these youth with like a supportive team. We work basically on goals. We try, these minute goals, and then we also have bigger goals that we have like this team in place to basically help achieve those goals. And we also are surrounding the families as well, making sure that the families have what they need, because it's not only the trauma that's happened to the youth. If you're a mother or father or caregiver or other relative who is taking good care, taking care of these youth, then this is kind of traumatizing for them as well to recognize and understand that their child is in this position. So why we decided to start Hope Court is because these youth are very complex and they require a higher level of care than other youth. And so what we're trying to do is really use care and treatment, but we do skill building, coping skills, and like pro-social activities so that we can get these kids putting one foot in front of the other for living a meaningful life. One of the things that we also have is enhanced supervision. So while they may be on probation, we call their probation officers case managers. They truly are the heroes here as well, because they are the ones that are putting things into place. We also have an education advocate who is critical to working with the schools in making sure that these kids are attending school, or if they have needs that are not met, that we can attempt to kind of bridge that gap for these youth. We also work with a wonderful group called Street Grace that provides mentoring for these youth. It's just an awesome opportunity for someone who's lived this experience to kind of walk side by side with the youth. This is only one of only 3 courts in the United States, and the only one in the Southeast. And it's brand new. Like Lizanne said, we've been here for 1.5 years. And so, we had a wonderful, wonderful kind of debrief and planning meeting. I want to say it was last week, where we got the whole team together and we kind of had crucial conversations about what we want going forward and what this vision is for us. And so we're definitely working on syncing together providers within the community to make sure that we have, a multi-layer kind of pyramid that we can go to get these kids get their help that they need, and depending on all their needs, and each one of these kids is different. And so we need different providers and services for these kids. We're also working on, just streamline some of the practices that we have within the court system so that we can kind of identify these youth and make sure that we're not letting any youth kind of drop through the cracks. So we're definitely collaboratively working as a team to ensure that that happens. We do have a steering committee that we're working with, that we are starting up our new meeting where we're kind of making sure that the response to the trafficked youth, no matter how they come into our knowledge, that we're providing the best care at the right time for the right youth. So we're working together on that. We do have exciting things in the works. We are looking at some good grants. There are, we're still identifying our youth, but we're really excited about identifying these partners and everybody kind of working together to make sure that these youth can be a part of our community and do so in a meaningful way.
Questions for Laura?
Laura, just again, tell me the acronym words. I wanted to write them down.
Sure. Give them hopeful opportunities.
Okay.
Through positive empowerment.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Thank you for what you're doing too.
No problem at all. I love it. It's wonderful.
Laura, how many youth are being served now by the court? And how many do you think that we are missing? You have that sense?
I think we're missing a lot. And so that's a big part of my job and the court administration job is we're kind of diving back in to see, have we missed any kids? Are we overlooking, or was there not a referral made, or why this referral wasn't made, that type of thing. And so right now we're serving, I've got 12 on my census right now, with 4 that are, 2 are kind of, we're still working on assessments and making sure that everything's appropriate. And then I believe I have 2 referrals on my desk. So those are coming in a little bit more rapidly as we're letting everybody within these systems know that anybody can make a referral. And then we'll do our very best to assess what's in the best interest of the youth. I think we're missing a lot. I do. I don't know how many, but I do. I think there's, I think I just went through like one page maybe the other day of some youth, and I think I identified a couple. So I think we're missing a lot. And I think it's also the education on, what trafficking is and how, a lot of people think trafficking is what's in the movies and what's on the TV, and that it's, this long thing where people go overseas and they don't know where the kids are. And it's not. It's something very simple that can happen right here in one of our hotels off 95. So I think we're just trying to kind of educate the community as well into what trafficking is all about. And I think once we do that, educate the professionals within the community, I think we're going to get a lot more referrals.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Laura, how does someone make a referral?
So really, all you have to do is, and I can put my contact into the chat, but you can just reach out to me. There is a referral sheet that I can send out to everybody. That's a court referral sheet, but it's a very simple sheet. It's very much just like, I have some serious concerns, and you've noticed this, that, and the other thing, and you think that it might be appropriate. So I can definitely leave my contact information, and if you want to contact me, we can talk further about that, and I can send out the referral report as well. The first sheet, sorry.
Are there specific needs that the court has that this group could help with?
I think a lot of the times, one of the great things about Hope Court is that we really are focused on incentives and rewards instead of sanctions and punishment. We know that doesn't necessarily work very well for this type of youth. And a lot of times, it's transactional. And so, we do a lot, we try and give them something, something tangible that they can have, when things are going really good. And we also do that for the parents too. We also really want to celebrate the parents that are making a heavy effort into getting their kids to therapy, getting their kids to court, getting their kids to school. So, sometimes we give out gift cards. We've given out some, the adult kind of coloring books and colored pencils. Sometimes toiletries can be really received. I had a kid the other day who we were doing a reward and we thought, she's a drawer, she likes to color, and she ended up taking the toiletry bag that we have. So you never know what the need is for these kids at that present moment. So it's just a couple of things like that. And definitely, community outreach, and if you guys want us to come, there's PowerPoints that we're working on and presentations that we're working on that can be really valuable for the community. So if you ever think of something that we might be able to speak at or present at, definitely let us know.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
No problem, guys. I put my email in the bottom. Email is probably the best way to reach me, but if you guys ever need anything or have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you very much. And you may want to hang out for just a couple of minutes because this next
will.
presentation is right on parallel with what you're up to. So,
Awesome. I'm definitely going to stay. Thank you for inviting me.
so take it away, Maureen McFadden.
Oh, thank you.
You need no introduction.
Wow. I don't know if that's good or bad. Now I'm nervous. All right, great presentation, Laura. Thank you. That's so wonderful, the work you're doing. So good morning, CGIC friends. It's so wonderful to see all your smiling faces and glamour shots. Delightful. So I am so excited to be here today to talk to you about how, as a collective group, we are going to create a social movement of change around being trauma informed and trauma responsive in our community. So hold on to your hats because this is going to get exciting. Hold on to your glasses. Otis Johnson, Dr. Johnson, it's right there. So here's what we're going to do. I see you. So here's what we're doing. I want to start by just painting a picture with numbers, and then I want to tell you what we're going to do for this social movement. 140,000. That's the number of children who are currently living without a parent because COVID has taken their life. 80,000 is the number of youth who now say across our country that they are experiencing double the feelings of depression and anxiety. And 51% is the increase in suicide attempts throughout our country that hospitals are seeing of youth in our country. And I wanted to start with that because all of those things create trauma in our youth and in our communities. And when we're experiencing trauma, all sorts of negative things happen. And we know this because the research tells us this. So to address that, we want to create, under the leadership of Lizanne Roberts and under all of your hard work, a social movement to create a trauma responsive and trauma informed community, not only here in Chatham County, but in coastal Georgia. We have been working, and those of you have heard us say this, with Resilient Georgia, which is a foundation made up of about 16 other different foundations. The main one is the Pitalock Foundation. And they have given us money over the first 2 years, which has gone to serving different programs through through the Safety Net Planning Council and some of their trainings, Loop It Up with mindfulness zones with Molly Lieberman, Gateway supported a CPS, a certified peer specialist at the front porch, and different, and also our Teenish podcast. So we've had some funding from them. And they were so impressed with what we did the first 2 years. They said, okay, we want you to apply for funding for year 3 and 4, but you need to focus on several things. One, you need to focus on how to decrease adverse childhood experiences. You need to focus on how to create trauma-informed and trauma-responsive communities. And you need to do it in a way that is creating a systemic change that is sustainable and that will permeate through a system so that it's not a one and done, it's not a program, but it's truly a change in how people operate in their belief system. So we said, yes, yes, and yes. And under Lizanne's leadership, we've gotten this funding. And the funding is a small piece of it, because what we really created, and I'm going to ask Lizanne in a moment if she doesn't mind sharing her screen, to put up what we've created, which is a collective impact framework. And the framework is the way that we think that everybody on this call and a lot of people who aren't on this call can come together to create this trauma responsive community and build trauma resilient community, working together to prevent and heal childhood adversity. You know, someone who's on this meeting right now is the wonderful Shirley Roberts, who has been instrumental in helping our core team. And one of the things that she asked was, you know, why now? Why is this important now? Trauma's been around for a while, right? ACEs has been around for a while, adverse childhood experiences. We're not rediscovering the apple here. So why is this important now? Well, it's important now because in our community, we have now created partnerships. We have created the ability to network with one another. We have the desire and the bandwidth to use our collective impact to truly permeate all aspects of Chatham County. And so with the help of Resilient Georgia, now is the time to make this happen. The statistics that I've read to you are not going to get better. They are going to get worse if we don't come up with a way as a community to address these issues. And we need to do so with a racial equity lens, and we need to do so in a way that makes sense to all the communities we're serving and that brings all aspects of our community together. So we have a plan. You're welcome. All right, so Lizanne, would you mind putting up the slide? Okay, so this is our collective impact framework that our core team, who was led by Lizanne and Shirley Roberts, they like to keep it in the family, and then it was Alicia Anderson, Molly Lieberman, Vera Salzburn, Joya Ellis Dinkins, Jessica Mathewson, and myself that worked on how we could accomplish this goal. And again, this goal isn't going to be accomplished in a week. This is a 2-year social movement that we're going to get started. And social movements have happened before in Savannah. I'm referencing Paula Chrysler and Healthy Savannah, and which was a vision, I believe, of Dr. Otis Johnson. Can I get an amen? Thumbs up, thank you. And so this has happened before, and it's happened successfully. We're just changing the topic area, so we can do this. So as you look at this slide, what you'll see is that the backbone organization of this is going to be Coastal Georgia Indicators, because there's obviously no organization better than bringing us all together. They already have that. They're already doing it. They do it effectively. So they're going to convene and sponsor and manage this group. Out of that, we're having a steering committee, which will have co-chairs, Lizanne Roberts, and someone who we're hoping will say yes to be the other co-chair. And we'll have a group of individuals, some of which are on this call, who will really look and provide our strategic direction for this social movement. Underneath the steering committee, you'll see 5 work groups. And the first one, and we've met with Dr. Levette and Dr. Hancock and Dr. Vanessa Keener, and they were all very much for this because they see the suffering every day. And I'm sure people on this call, like Rhonda Barlow and others, see the suffering every day of the children who are coming to the schools. And so they know that we need to change how we're responding to these youth. And so they are very much for this. So for our school-based collaborative model, we're going to have that work group focus on how can they collaborate and how can we work together. And I'm going to give you a simple example, because you might be thinking, well, how is that going to be different from what people are doing? So let me give you an example. In the school system, they have asked their teachers to do a certain amount of time at the beginning of each day focused on social emotional learning, which teaches kids how to cope, how to take in their feelings and use them in a productive way. Now, if you're a teacher, some teachers they might have already been doing that. I know teachers, and I'm sure you do too, who practice yoga in the morning with their kids, who do some meditation. Other teachers, that wasn't why they became a teacher, to do social emotional learning. They became a teacher because they're great at teaching algebra. And so, it's not very much equitable across the board as far how they're equipped, how well they're equipped to start the child's day with those pro-social or social emotional learning activities. So this might be a group who could help standardize that, right? And make that just give a toolkit to those teachers that they can pull from every day, depending on the child's age. And therefore, the teacher doesn't have to stress and worry about it. It's there, and we know it's effective. So, so that's a small example. So that's one work group. Work group 2 is going to be our out of school network. This is going to be people like librarians, our faith-based community. I do want to say that we have had some wonderful response from our faith-based community. In fact, they met with us and they were all for it. I do want to back up a bit. The first work group is going to be led by Principal Wright from Juliet Low. She's the principal at Juliet Low, as well as co-chaired by Molly Lieberman from Loop It Up. And if you saw, Molly was on TV yesterday, so A Star is Born every day, and she did wonderfully. So they will be the co-chairs. For work group 2, that is going to be led by Pastor Andre Osborne, as well as Rita Harris, who is the director of community engagement for our Live Oak libraries. And, some of you may be sitting there thinking, well, that's interesting. How did the libraries get involved? Well, guess what? Everybody goes to the library. Homeless people go to the library. People who need just a quiet spot to be, go to the library. People who want to read books, go to the library. And our libraries have taken a lot of initiative in becoming trauma informed, so much so that they're actually hiring a social worker to help work with them on how to be trauma responsive and trauma informed. So we're really excited. So work group 2 is going to talk about those out of school networks. That can include those of us who are on the call who are providers of behavioral health. It can include our YMCAs, our recreational groups. So that all of those networks, our Park Place outreaches, those are the types of groups that would be present in work group 2. Work group 3 is really focused on our judicial, first responders, law enforcement, and how to create being trauma-informed capacity building among those systems. We're very excited that Alicia Markle, Deputy Court Administrator from the Juvenile Court, and John Bush, who has just recently taken on a new position as a Director over Neighborhood Safety and Community Engagement with the City of Savannah. They are going to co-chair that group. And that group's really going to focus on, and we had a wonderful meeting with juvenile court judges yesterday. Lizanne and I did, and they were all for this. They actually all said, if you're looking for a yes, you've got it, we're for it. And one of the things that Lizanne and I discussed with them was, when we say we want to be trauma informed and trauma responsive, and this applies to all the groups, it's not that we just want to focus on the people that we're serving, but we also want to focus on the people who are doing the serving. So if you work in the court, if you work in DFACS, if you're a teacher and you are giving, right, of your heart and soul every day, and you're seeing the things that you see and hearing the things that you hear, it takes a toll on a person's soul, on a person's heart, on their well-being. And so we want to create an environment and create a community where we are being trauma responsive to our own, to those who are doing the serving. Does that make sense? Okay, I see more heads going up and down than side to side, so I'm taking that as a good sign. So to that end, they will lead the work group that's going to focus on that. Work group 4 is going to be led by Lizanne. And this is really because one of the key components that they also asked us to focus on, that Resilient Georgia asked us to focus on, was I mentioned they wanted ACEs, they wanted to be trauma informed, trauma responsive, that had to be sustainable. and it had to be systemic change through a racial equity lens, but also they wanted us to look outside of our county, and it had to be regional. And how can we take what we've done and learned and really help in our other more rural communities? So to that end, Lizanne has already met with the heads of the family connections in our neighboring counties. And I believe she's gotten the commitment of 14 of those groups to work on this and really focus on bringing Handle with Care to their community. And for those of you who don't know, Handle with Care is a wonderful program, and it's a great example. It's actually not a program, but it's a wonderful example of systemic change, right? So prior to Handle with Care in Chatham County, if you're a police officer and you get called to a scene and a child's there and they just witnessed a shooting or they witnessed some type of violence, you literally would just take the report and submit your report. You might talk to the child and comfort them, but that's pretty much what happened. Now with Handle with Care, they're going to take that report, but they're also going to make one phone call to a number that's going to say the child's name and Handle with Care. And so that teacher and that counselor in that school is going to get that message so that they know that if Johnny is sitting in school and he's acting, in a different way, it's not because Johnny wants to be difficult that day, but Johnny actually just witnessed someone get shot or someone get knifed. And so let's just be a little more sensitive. They won't know what happened to Johnny. They'll just know that you just need to handle him with care. And so that's a great systemic change in our community. And that's what Lizanne is going to work on bringing to other communities in our coastal region. And I believe the wonderful Lisa Brewer, who's on this call, is also going to work with Lizanne on that. Is that right, Lisa? Yes. And so that brings us to our fifth work group. So I like to say that our fifth work group, and you see it's in the middle, is where the rubber meets the road. And the reason I say it that way is because if we're going to be trauma informed and trauma responsive, and I want you to try and think about it this way. Often we use a lot of catchphrases or buzzwords in our work, right? So for example, in the area of behavioral health, you might say, oh, we're family centered. We are solution-based, we're strengths-based, right? Have you heard those words? And they're wonderful words, and they do have a lot of great meaning. But if you're saying those words, what work group 5 is going to do is to challenge you to say, okay, if you are trauma informed and trauma responsive, and I'm using solution focused and strength based as an example, if you're saying that you're strengths based, when someone walks into your agency, what do they see that lets them know that you are a solution focused strengths based establishment? What do they hear? What are they hearing being said? What's the feeling that they're getting from the environment of standing in your space? And so when we look at that, that's what it means to be strengths-based, to literally demonstrate and create that environment that lets a person know without saying it to them, without putting it on the wall, that this is how we operate in this space. And so work group 5 is going to focus on how are all of us going to demonstrate these trauma-informed and trauma-responsive skills, because obviously a lot of what's needed is training, right? And that's the first part of the learning continuum, the very first part. And anyone knows that you can go to a training and you can be doing the exact same thing you did before the training that you're going to do after the training if you choose not to demonstrate what you learned. So work group 5 is going to focus on how we fill in that learning continuum and how we hold ourselves accountable. And it's going to force us to be very introspective. It's going to force us to have, but what I mean by that is to really do an assessment of ourselves to say, are we willing to look at doing things differently? Are we willing to take a risk and try to do it from this perspective and not this, right? If we have 5 hoops that a person in need of help has to jump through before we actually help them with what they showed up in need for, Are we willing to look at our process and procedures to say, can we decrease those 5 to 1? Right? Because we're now trauma informed and trauma responsive. So we're not just going to talk the talk, we're going to walk the walk. And that's what work group 5 is going to focus on. And so to that extent, Shirley Roberts and I are right now leading that group, and we will be flushing that out a bit more. We are going to look at, again, this social movement is going to look at our collective impact. And what that means is we all have resources. We all have opportunities and linkages to training, to different things. And so we're going to look at how we can use our collective resources to create this social movement. And we know that based on the work that we've all been able to do together, that we can do this and we can make this happen. And we're really relying on all of you to bring us your enthusiasm for this and your willingness to see how we can come up with our collective resources and create something in our community that's really going to have an impact on those kids who are going to school feeling double the anxiety, double the depression. Our focus from this grant is youth and young adults ages 0 to 26. And we're also going to look at a community resilience model training and how we can look at and help us learn how to be a resilient community. So we do have, Lizanne has spoken with an evaluator because we are going to evaluate ourselves and see how we're doing. And that's kind of difficult because it's not a program, right? Where it's like, how many people did you serve? How many, widgets did you get to this person or that person? It's really a mindset, a shift in mindset, and then a shift in action. And so how do you measure that? So we're going to have a wonderful evaluator who's Lizanne is already starting to work with, who's going to tell us how to measure that. And I'm really excited that that's her responsibility, not mine. I don't know. But we're also going to look at working with a communications person and how we can get this message out to the community. So this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And I know that, I was going to say, I can tell you a lot about marathons, but I'm going to say, Paula can tell you a lot about marathons. So we need to work together, and we need to recognize that this is a social movement for the improvement of our community and our children. I always tell parents and kids, you only get one shot at being a child. You get one shot. And every kid deserves to have it be their best shot. And if we are not created a space in our community to recognize the impacts of trauma and how to respond to it in a way that actually makes the world better for the people who are experiencing it, then, what are we all doing coming together on these collaborative calls? And I said to the judges yesterday, there are so many things in this world we cannot change and that we cannot control. This is something we can do. This is something we can change. And this is something that we can make happen. So I am very excited about this. Our ask from all of you here today is to talk about this, to let people know that this is happening, to reach out to Lizanne or myself if you're interested in being a part of this. We are really working very hard to be inclusive. You can tell from the people that you should, if you know the individuals that I named as the co-chairs of the different work groups, that they are from a variety of backgrounds that we don't always interface with. And that's done on purpose because we want this to be a very diverse and very inclusive social movement. So I'm sure Lizanne will mention anything that I forgot. I would like to ask if there are any questions that people have. And I really thank you for your attention this morning.
Thank you, Maureen. I do want to mention Lisa Brewer will be my co-chair for this, for the coastal counties. So there are a total of 14 counties, including Chatham in this, and they've really stepped up to be a big part of this. And the family connection partnerships in those counties, many of them have put Handle with Care on their radar. I think 2 or 3 of them have already started meeting with law enforcement in their community and the schools. And they'll also be implementing either Connections Matter or CRIM training. CRIM stands for Community Resilience Model. And our hope is that in the coastal region, that we will, through the training, we will develop community experts in trauma and being trauma responsive and ACEs prevention, so that they can carry that forward in their communities, and they can get the resources that quite often we don't realize how rich we are in Chatham by all the resources we have. And many of our coastal partners don't have those same resources that we have. And so we're wanting to make sure that we touch as many people in that coastal region as we can. Lisa, did you want to offer anything else up about the regional piece?
No, just that we're super excited about it, and we do have 100% participation, which is exciting. And yes, I think right now we've probably got about 5 or 6 that have already started the Handle with Care process, and the community members seem to be really excited about it. And this goes in line with the state DFACS, child abuse and neglect plan that we've been working on the last year. One of the things that came up in Region 12 for that was trauma informed. So it's kind of like burning the candle from both ends in a way. But we're super excited and looking for this to be a regional initiative, a long-term regional initiative. So good to see everybody.
Thank you, Lisa.
Liz Ann,
Yes, Angela?
I have a comment. Congratulations for this initiative. I'm excited to hear about it. I heard Maureen mention the why in the beginning, and or why now, and I appreciate when programs come together to actually ask, why are we doing this, so we can stay focused and create our missions and all. But I wanted to add to that, because I really feel like it is a rhetorical question, the why now, especially because and due to COVID, there are so many issues that have just evolved from COVID that are impacting our children. And I think one of the things we do have to concentrate on as we're beginning is how we can have that proactive approach to maybe change some stigmas of counseling and therapy. I know in certain communities that's taboo, and that's why a lot of traumas go hidden or unaddressed. And so the COVID experience with the instability of the children in school and the fears in school and at home, and seeing their parents even fearful of how to handle COVID, it is just, to me, it's bringing on so much. I'm so glad that we're bringing this together now. 2020 actually opened our eyes. 2020, we have 2020.
I agree, Angela. I think that before we wrote the grant, we met with about 26 people that we brought in to give us feedback on the grant. And many of those were African-American pastors.
Good.
Because they're also seeing it from the outside of school perspective. And they gave us some really great feedback from their perspective as community leaders. And our intention is to bake that into the work that we're doing.
Great.
So that we can reach as you can see, we're wanting to reach that 0 to 26 population is our target group, because that's what Resilient Georgia is focused on. And then we want to reach everyone, right, in our community. But we really want to reach the people who are reaching the children in so many different sectors, so that it's not just one or two community organizations that are singing the song.
Mhm.
The notion is everybody's singing the song. So then it starts to get to be less of a stigma, because we have more people singing the same song and understanding what things are. And we got that same feedback regarding parents really understanding the impacts of trauma, and how those impacts of trauma impact children and youth and young adults from a mental health perspective. So thank you for bringing that up. Paula?
Chime in.
So first, thanks for the shout out, Maureen. Yes, we've been doing social movement for a long time, and yes, this whole community is ready to roll. I just dropped something in, a link into the chat. So Jackie Ogden and myself are both on the Planning Council for the National Youth Advocacy and Resilience Conference, which Georgia Southern hosts every year at the Hyatt. It was all virtual last year, but this year it's going to go to not as broad. However, it has a huge regional draw. I will just say that. And so I think that somewhere in there that I think someone from, Maureen, I'm going to just say you should register and attend this conference if you're not already registered to do this. It's Georgia Southern, I think it's in the 30-something year. Dr. Jay here was honored with one of the Ron Alt Awards because of his involvement from 30 plus years ago in the origination of this conference. But they actually have a whole center now at Georgia Southern Statesboro campus that is devoted to this research. And it includes, so Dr. Lisa Leckie and Dr. Taylor Norman they co-chair this whole space and are responsible at Georgia Southern for it. So it's going to be, they bring in national speakers, and they have obviously education spaces that are all around everything that this grant evolves around. So I just would highly recommend that you attend and see what resources are there, and maybe even have set up a table. I know I'm not sure it all works because we've not ever done that. But anyway, just wanted to just throw that out there. And I know it's almost full, right, Jackie? I think that's what we heard on our last.
We're up to 767 folks from all over the country, and I would recommend each and every one of you register for that conference. It is highly recognized. Our city has definitely been the leader in this for over this is the 31st year. And so all of you are invited, and I hope, Liz Ann, you will send out the registration link, just as Paula has noted, to everyone that's involved with our coalition. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it is in March.
Thank you so much.
I put the registration link in, so just know that. I just had to look at my other screen. So yeah, it's in the registration link, so you can register for there, but I'll send it out to the listserv. Thanks.
And also I see that our own Vera Salzburn and dare I say my own Felicia Anderson, who works for me at Gateway, are going to be presenters there. And so they are certainly going to be worth the price of admission and then some. So that's exciting. So thank you, Vera, for letting us know that. And Maya Jinks, I saw you had a question.
I kind of more had a statement. You mentioned, I enjoyed hearing the presentation. It was refreshing. And I'll say this, you mentioned something about one of the work groups. I think Liz Ann's probably going to be over there at work group in regards to Handle with Care and expanding it out. And I just have had, I guess, a unique experience since I worked with juvenile court and somewhat with the school system as well. I've seen Handle with Care work. Okay, and it's been a situation where we had a youth that was connected with Hope Court. And that particular youth had a situation where the school, Johnson High School, was informed to handle with care. And when I tell you the lens was totally different when it comes down to the staff that supported him, admin that supported him, it was amazing. It was no questions for details. It was just totally different. The lens changed. So to hear that it's going to go to other communities and other cities and counties, believe me, I was like, okay, this is great, because more people need to be exposed to this, because even the youth even said he felt like he had adults in that building that cared about him.
That's wonderful.
I just
You have made my year.
made Lizanne's year. You literally just made her year.
I just had to tell her, I just had to, the experience, they said, Miss Jinx, don't worry, we have them, and gave them all the plans they put together as a collective within the teachers and the staff there and the counselor. It was amazing. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Maya, because that's what we've hoped for. You know, that's what our hope was, that it would take hold, and that children would get connected to the services that they need. And so thank you for sharing your story this morning. It means that it's working the way we think it would work. And so our next piece for that is really expanding to all the jurisdictions in Chatham County. Because right now it's only with City of Savannah, Police Department, and the school system. So the notion is that we'll have CCPD, Garden City PD, all of those trained in Handle with Care we hope in the next 6 to 9 months. That's our target. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions or comments?
Maureen, I did see a question in the chat from Mr. Cohen.
Okay, could you read it to me, please? That's okay, I'll find it. No worries.
Let me go up just a smidgen.
I see that. Thank you. Yes, the question is regarding the faith-based community, would they rotate among themselves using their facilities? As for the libraries, usually they are, quote, hush zones, end quote. So would a room at their facility be set aside to engage in this kind of work? So thank you so much for your question, Mr. Cohen. So the answer is that we, as Lizanne said earlier, we have met when we brought about 36 or 40 people together. Many of our faith-based community leaders came and they said that they are in. Now, how they are in was not flushed out, and that's what that work group will look at. But the libraries are already creating webinars, and I'll let Ms. Harris elaborate on that. But they are already creating webinars and other things to assist in this work. And I'm going to ask Ms. Harris if you had anything that you wanted to add. You're on mute.
Sorry, you would think after 2 years of virtual, we would know how to unmute ourselves so quickly.
You're in good company with that. Don't even.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, just to address a little bit, I know typically in the past, the libraries are known as hush zones. I just want to clarify, we do not hush people unless they're extremely rowdy, but we want people to be excited and welcoming and happy to come into the library. So we do have space that is specifically created for those that need a more quieter space to focus on studying and reading. But we do have a lot of other spaces that will allow us to have meetings and to have opportunities for people to engage and speak, you know, safely, of course. We have auditoriums available. So we definitely are working on creating safe spaces. We're working on creating specialized areas. As Maureen mentioned, we are in the process of trying to find a social worker. We'll be creating a special space specifically for a social worker to work with individuals and have the privacy that they need. So the good thing about having 16 branches and 12 just alone in Chatham County, we have a huge variety of spaces to really meet people where they are. And also, if any of you, as you're having your team meetings, are looking for space for meeting, give us a call. I'd be happy to help accommodate you guys.
Thank you so much, Rita. And thank you so much, Mr. Cohen, for that question. Any other comments or questions?
Jackie?
Maureen, yes, I raised my hand.
Oh.
One of the things in places I think this group should be looking at is our community centers. And of course, the city of Savannah has built some fantastic centers. I know us and Extension use them very much, thinking in terms of the east side, the park, and also thinking in terms of all the neighborhood community centers that have wonderful facilities right there, meeting with families in neighborhoods. And not only within Chatham County, not only within the city of Savannah, but throughout Chatham County, there are many community centers. And if this program, and as it is moving in terms of additional counties outside of ours, most all of those communities too have multiple community centers. So I would highly encourage meeting the people where they live and are, and to collaborate there with some of our community outlets.
Oh, that's
Close
wonderful.
to the people.
That's great. And Lizanne is actually already reaching out to the YMCA, because as you were saying, Jackie, they have community centers throughout coastal Georgia. So that's another way that we're going to engage in this regional work, and also just rec centers. And they were part of the group that showed up when we were just getting the community's feedback. So that's great, Jackie. We appreciate that. Thank you. Any other comments?
I just wanted to, Sherry Trice from Greenbrier. Good morning, Maureen and everyone. I just wanted to mention that we've been doing some training on adverse childhood experiences in our early child care learning programs. We actually just did a 4-hour training with the staff from the Habersham YMCA on Saturday morning, and we're hitting all the other YMCAs because it's important, as you mentioned, not only for training for staff of children who are kindergarten and on up, but the birth through 5 cohort. So we are Connections Matter trained, and we've been working with other partners in our community. So if any of you have connections with other early child care learning centers in our community and throughout Chatham County, please let us know, because we are operating under a grant from DECAL, and we can offer free training to early child care providers with credits for continuing education for Bright from the Start. So it's another incentive that teachers do not have to pay for continuing education credits. So if you have any questions, I'll drop my email in the chat, and thank you for all the work you're doing. This is very exciting.
Thank you, Sherry. That was very well timed. So thank you so much. We appreciate that. And that's wonderful that you're doing that in the community. I'm sorry, Lee Robbins, did you have a comment?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I raised my, I just wanted to, I've worked on a project with young adults, partnering with Step Up to address issues of marginalization for 21 to 35-year-olds over the last couple of years, and learning about programs and systemic change and how do you address issues of marginalization. And one thing that I've learned that I'm hoping that I don't think I've heard, and maybe I missed it, so I apologize if I did, is that in order to really make systemic change happen, you really need to put the focus on the needs of those who experience trauma. But that comes through constant conversations with those that experience trauma. So it's one thing to have really good data and statistics. It's another thing to get community member feedback through those conversations to say, tell me what you need because you've experienced trauma. And that goes a lot further than, so just keep that in mind with the 5 teams. It's efficacy over efficiency, but it's worth it in the end because it will make a systemic social movement when we involve those that have experienced trauma. So I just wanted to
that's very well said. And it's important because people are the experts on themselves, right? And so when you're the person going through trauma, you're the expert on what that feels like, what that looks like. And so we're going to really rely on our community members who are not the ones who are necessarily a leader or an agency person, but are truly the people who are experiencing trauma to share their expertise with us. And we're going to put ourselves in the posture of learning because we're not the experts on everyone. And our work groups and their leadership need to be in the posture of learning so that we can actually be someone who's a partner with them and not necessarily, a hierarchy. with those that we're wanting to serve. And I'm sorry, Lizanne, I get excited, so I didn't mean to jump in.
So that's quite all right. What I was going to say, Lee, is that we're thinking, part of the place that we're thinking about with that, and our lead evaluator on the project is thinking about how we collect that information and how we bake that information into the work that we're doing. And also helping understanding what they need to become leaders, because they have the lived experience part. And that is so much more powerful than anything I could ever do. And so that's the part where we've got to figure those pieces of it out. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. I think we've got 3 hands up. I'll go with Beatrice next.
Also, I'm super excited to hear everything that is happening. Chatham County is a multicultural county, and I believe that this is an amazing opportunity to get the big picture on how we can actually, when we're talking about sustainability, a system of change, and a system of change that requires accountability from leadership. Because when we're talking about ACE and training is important. But if you train your staff and you train the community, but at the bottom line, the system and the leadership do not support what you are learning about ACE, so it's going to be diluted. And so kind of by experience, when I was working at the Jackson Behavioral Health Hospital in the leadership, so we understood that we needed to train the staff, but as leaders, we needed to make changes in policies and procedures, the way how Marina, you're talking about how we were presenting to the patients when they were into the behavioral units, the environmental unit, the warm unit. So everything is the minor details that you cannot imagine are the ones who are going to make a huge impact in everybody's life. And by the experience is that we learn what are the opportunities, listen to the people who, like you're saying, it's going to express their own trauma, and what did we miss when the ball was dropped. So I'm just flabbergasted.
Thank you, Beatrice. You always have really good comments, and you're absolutely right. It's going to be a shift in how we talk, how we walk, how we create our environments to welcome people. So thank you. Alicia?
Hey, Maureen and Lizanne. And Lizanne, I have had just some brief conversations about this work, and she knows that I'm totally on board and looking for ways that we can be a support at Step Up. But one of the things that I just wanted to share, that with our work with the Mediation Center, Lee and I and our team, we're going to be planning a kind of a young adult resource fair sometime in the summer. We, in our conversations, our multiple conversations with them, one of the things that we discovered is they were not aware of resources or support systems that were in existence already in the community, and how they might be able to tap into them or become a part of them. And so Lee and I brainstormed about ways we could help them. And so one of the ways that we talked about is creating some sort of half-day, whole-day resource fair where we would invite some of those programs, jobs, offer some, workshops and even panel discussions throughout the day that they could tap into. And so I think that would be a great place to not only feature this work, but perhaps have a panel discussion to be able to talk to them, or vice versa, or offer some sort of workshop during that day. We haven't looked at a space or where we would do it yet. But we're going to be starting those planning conversations probably near the end of the month of this month. So I just think it would be a great opportunity for this to be featured and to tap into that group, you know, and to share.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that opportunity. That's great. That's exciting. And then Connie?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, guys. What a great group of people that just, you know, live and work here. I'm so happy to be part of it. I love the story of, and I forgot who was telling the story, of an actual young person who was experienced handled with care. Those are the kind of stories that really get you right in the gut, you know, and that's what keeps firing us up, right? Keeps that passion going. So thank you for that. I'm just learning about all of this, but I did want to reach out and make sure that as from the city, if I can help make those connections to the community centers, the leaders and managers of those community centers and the people that are the department heads of those community centers, WW Law, you know, PACE and all those folks, I can get you those contacts. I can make the introductions if you don't already have those. And then another one I thought about, because I'm now getting involved with a meeting, you know, people where they are in the neighborhood associations, but those neighborhood association leaders have been in those communities most of the time for years, and they know people, they know what's happening. They've got their ear, you know, on the street, get the finger on the pulse of what's happening in their neighborhoods. So there may be some opportunity there to reach out to them and provide them with some information. Happy to help if you do not have any of those contacts. We do, one of our departments has some representatives that work directly with the neighborhood associations. So I can help make those connections if you need that.
We appreciate that. Thank you. And I see Taffany's on here. She's got her hand raised, so she's going to echo, I think, part of it.
So that's exactly what I was going to do.
I'm hoping you're going to say, make it so.
That's what I was going to say. I want to follow up on Connie, just to say that, yes, the neighborhood associations, we have, you have those relationships, Carrie Reed, Margaret Williams, of course, Barry Baker retired, but we have Kelly Ledbetter over the recreation centers. I just wanted to mention that certainly the recreation centers are available. I know that we have relationships with the YMCA, and I think that's an excellent partnership, because they really do have the small programs for pre-K and so forth. So they're touching a population that we don't necessarily have, other than some of our partners and some of our centers. But you're absolutely right. If you want to reach kids that don't have a membership plan at a club, it'll be through our recreation programs. You probably have heard over the last year that we engaged in Recreation Reimagined, that process. We also have a lot of funding that's coming towards recreation. Finally, that's going to be really exciting. And so we believe that we're in a position this year to see a major transformation in terms of how recreation is done in Savannah. So everything from very crude resources that I think we had in neighborhoods. You might have seen some presentations I've done on splash pads. It should be really cool places, and they're just really a slab of concrete with a pipe down the middle. Well, now those are all going to be transformed. We're looking at increasing the amount of spaces for kids in our centers. You all have probably frequented the city's recreation centers and found that they mostly end up being neighborhood association meetings. And then kids just kind of randomly coming in and out of computer labs. So all of that's going to change. We'll be doing real programming targeted at families, targeted at kids, you know, where they can actually, we're also moving online so that people will be able to register for a wide variety of classes. Dr. Johnson, you will appreciate this. You've always talked about how we worked in silos so much and did not work across departments. So now our human services department and our recreation department and our cultural department are all now going into the same system, and will be sharing programming across, so you don't have to come down to the Cultural Arts Center. Those teachers and instructors will be going out. So we think that that effort will then attract more young people and more families into those centers, which really provides an opportunity for us to do the work that you're talking about. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that a part of Recreation Reimagined isn't just facilities changing. It's also about changing the minds and the training level that we have for our staff. Our staff have kind of been in this they've kind of been in this mode of, I take care of a building and I open it up and people come in and out, and instead we want to move them into a point of saying that they're change agents, that recreation centers need to have recreation, but they also create a wonderful opportunity to engage family on all these other needs. So we want to do a hybrid of recreation and resource center, so that when people come through, they're able to tap into those resources. So please consider this an invitation to everyone, that we are already having those conversations, and we'll be reaching out to you all to see how we can do programming differently, how we can bring more partners in and have those discussions, because those community centers are right where people live. So they can roll out of bed and fall right into the center. Kids can walk, a couple of blocks and they're right there. And so we also have the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, which is was traditionally on the police department, that's also moved over in my area to community services. And we're very interested in how do we reach kids that are perpetrators of violence and crime or victims of violence and crime. How do we provide them with other opportunities so that they don't see that that's the only avenue for them? And so we're very interested in those discussions as well, and really rethinking the use of these centers, making them much more vibrant, so that there's not one activity happening. And you all have seen that you come in, there'll be only one thing happening in these big buildings with all these spaces. And so we want to change that and make it a real hub for every community. So we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Taffany. And so I'll follow up with Margaret and Carrie on this, but we want to get in soon to share the model with the staff and understand from their perspective where they think it plugs in to the work. And really, I said to the juvenile court judges yesterday, I said, we're making stone soup. So a collective impact model is about making stone soup. Everybody brings something to the table to put into the soup. And it's not about us trying to figure out what we think you need to do. It's us working alongside you to understand what your needs are so that we can plug in and support your work. So we want to do that as soon as we can and get the ball rolling. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yay, I feel like I've been to church. Okay, Jackie.
I was just going to echo what Taffany just said. With cooperative extension prior to the pandemic and during the pandemic, we have seen all of these great things happening and working and bringing program delivery, not only through the park, but through all of the community centers, and their staff has been phenomenal, and people are there and they want to engage. And if your agency is not doing programming with their great leaders and programs and in the community, you're missing the boat. Thanks, Taffany, for all you and your entire workforce do within the city.
Any other questions, comments before we move along? That was just wonderful. Thank you, Maureen. Always a great job presenting and facilitating that discussion. And I think that's leading us to some really great work going forward. We'll be sending out the white paper and the collective impact model out to all of you after the meeting. I hope we'll engage in more conversation around this, and we're ready to get the ball rolling on it. Our first steering committee will happen February 24th. And so we're moving along quickly. Our next presenter is going to be very, very brief, and it's Rachel. And she's going to just touch on some updates to our website and some new data that is featured there.
Good morning, everyone. I noticed we did have a couple of new people on the call. So for those who don't know, my name is Rachel McConaughey, and I serve as the operations coordinator for Coastal Georgia Indicators Coalition. We've had a couple updates on our website, in case just any of you have gone on there in the first few days. However, we have had quite a bit of data updates. So we have a company, Conduit, and they go through and mine this data. And the really cool thing about our site is it's kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of data that we use for grants, whether that be demographic information for grants or the actual indicators, like the overall cancer incidence rate, COVID rates are up there right now. So in December, we had 2 different sources be updated for a total of 14 indicators. And then January had quite a bit. Primarily the CDC Places is the most prominent, and that covers 24 different indicators. And then we did change a little bit of our website. So I am going to reshare my screen so that we can see kind of the changes. We did change our banner, and our banner matches the status report for 2020. And we just did a little bit of rearranging to make things more accessible from the home page. So with our carousel tile right here, if you just want to click on that for Disparities Dashboard, instead of having to go through the tabs and everything else, it'll take you there as soon as it loads. Sorry, we're having a little bit of slow internet today. We'll see if it'll pull up the document rather than a full page. It's not going to pull up anything. So it's going to take a minute to load. But what this does is it just makes things more accessible from the front end. So you spend less time trying to find something. And then we do have some upcoming trainings. We have 3 of those. And the first one will be Tuesday, February 15th from noon to 1. The second will be a Wednesday, February 23rd from 12 to 1. And then we'll have one the first week of March. And if you want to attend those trainings, if you'll just email me, my email is coordinator.cgic@gmail.com. And I will add you to the invite. And what this will do is to kind of teach you the most efficient way to pull reports, how to mine data off our website, and how to quickly find exactly what you're looking for and even visualize it. And then here's my email here, and I will drop that in the chat as well. And that way, if anyone does have any follow-up questions for the website trainings, you can reach out to me directly.
Thank you, Rachel. And what I would also just offer that the training that we're offering will actually show you how to pull down reports, and it'll also show you how to compose reports. So there's a feature on the website where you can pull data and it'll pull it into a one-page document about a specific topic that you have interest in or that you want to present in a meeting. So we'll leave it there. And thank you, Rachel, for that update. In your agenda packet, you had on the second page of that, you have an update. So this is like a consent agenda. There's an update of the project meetings. We have identified, I would encourage you, if you are not a part of one of the work teams, economy, education, health, or quality of life, and you would like to be engaged in one of those work groups, those meeting dates are listed here on the agenda, and we'll be happy to get you in one of those groups. We have identified in each of those priority team meetings and work groups, we've identified the key strategies that we're working on, and you'll see those listed, and those are also in a Google Drive, Google Documents folder. So anyway, so does anyone have any questions about this? This is where we are, what we're working on in each of the priority team meetings. Is there anyone that has any questions or comments? Dr. J?
Yes, I would like to ask if these three groups could join with the real task force groups, because we have the education, health, the economy, and the quality of life. There are 4 of the 6. The other 2 consist of housing and the environment. And we don't need to be duplicating or in competition. So I would like to ask Lizanne and the leadership team of CGIC if we could have some dialogue about how we mesh these groups together to take the real report that identifies these racial equities and make it a part of the work of CGI. It would end some duplication. It would strengthen the breadth of the work. And so I would like to suggest that we have some discussions about how we move forward with that. The first meeting of the year for real will be on February 9th, which is next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. We've scheduled a meeting, and it would be nice if I see that there originally were up to 62 members on this call. If we could get some of those people to link in and decide if they want to join that kind of work, it would be very important. And we will be able to send out a link sometime very soon, hopefully by the end of this week, of how interested people can link into that meeting at 2 o'clock on next Wednesday. And at the end of the meeting, if I may, I have a couple of other comments that I would like to make, but I think it relates to the topic at hand right now, to see if we can merge the work of these 4 groups into the work of REAL.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. J. We're going to move on to partner highlights. So the mic is open for anyone who wants to give a partner highlight.
So before I have to drop off, I will just, because we've got a CDC call in 2 minutes. And so Dr. J, I may not be able to hear what you have to say, but I do want to know. But I just want to say that with the CDC racial and ethnic approaches to community health work, that both Nichelle and Elsie are presenting on the community health advocate work that they've been doing on the hot topics for across the country for all of the folks that are working on the COVID flu reach work. And then also the whole team is being asked to participate in a community engagement success story because of the work that we've been doing with CDC Reach and the Center for Wellness and Nutrition. So I just wanted to just highlight the team because they're just doing some amazing work. So thank you.
Okay. Others? I saw Beatrice, thanks for dropping that in the chat. Saw your comment.
Yeah,
Jones?
We're having a meeting on Monday on animal services. It's a virtual meeting, and I put it in the chat so you can register. We have to, I know children are important, but so are cats and dogs. So we'd appreciate your input. Everybody loves their pets. We have a lot of passionate organizations in this community around animals. So you're welcome to attend. I see a dog right there, Vera.
Yeah. Thank you. Tamika?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tamika Jonas. I'm the Prevention Education Coordinator for the Rape Crisis Center. And in the chat, I added an attachment. We are, as an agency, undergoing a rebrand, and we have a reception coming up on the 22nd. Oh, no, sorry, 23rd. All are welcome. But also I wanted to highlight that February is National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. And it's a time to promote safe and healthy relationships by talking about healthy and unhealthy relationship behaviors, recognizing warning signs, and connecting youth to supports in their community so that they know that they have a place to go if they are in unsafe situations, but also, of course, prevention. And that's where the introduction of SEL comes in and the importance of having those lessons where they learn empathy and regulation of emotions and all of that. And one of the reasons why this has been a thing for the last 12 years is because 1 in 3 teens in the US will experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse before they reach adulthood. And this doesn't include the numbers for digital abuse, which is now happening because of the emergence of cell phones and social media and things like that. So that's just another way to continue those unhealthy relationship behaviors. And the theme for this year is talk about it. And so we just simply want to encourage you to talk about it if you have young people that you come across, regardless of age, including young adults, because this isn't something that just ends once you reach a certain age. So just engage in those conversations and, you know, promote healthy relationships and just let them know that you are there for them and can link them to resources if necessary. So thank you.
Tamika, I downloaded the document, so we'll send that out after the meeting so everyone will have it. Thank you.
So much.
Glad to have you this morning. Patricia Merritt.
Good morning, everyone. Lizanne, I did want to let you and Maureen know that the judges and court administrative staff who participated in the meeting on yesterday, we were very pleased with the information that you shared, and we're looking forward to partnering with you all to do this very important work. It helped us to also kind of like refocus our thoughts about the work that we do with our young people and with families and even with our court staff, and how trauma and ACEs, how it just impacts all of that work. So we're really looking forward to working and partnering with you all, and also looking at our policies and our procedures, what we do with our young people and with our staff, and really just digging deep into that work. So I'm pretty excited about that. I did want to mention to everyone that we have stakeholder meetings coming up this Friday. We have our dependency stakeholder meeting scheduled at 2:00 p.m. on Friday via WebEx, and also our delinquency stakeholder meeting is scheduled this coming Friday at 3:30. So if anyone is interested in participating in that meeting, please give me a call or shoot me an email at the juvenile court. I'll put my email address in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Vera?
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see everybody and be a part of this group and this conversation. And we have a few updates that align with the work for this movement. So as a part of funding from the first 2 years from Resilient Georgia helped us lift a few programs, including Front Porch Act, Adolescents and Children Transforming Savannah program that uses a trauma-drama intervention model to intervene with youth who have experienced trauma through theater and play. And from that support, from the grant, we now have received also quite significant support of the city of Savannah, and they provided us with a $50,000 grant to continue this work and provide services to youth at risk in our community. So we are so excited, and just being, again, this is part of that out of school network work group. And another another part of the out of school network work group, we are actually bringing again a facilitator to train our yoga teachers, local yoga teachers, how to become more trauma informed. And that really helps create yoga studios to be more trauma informed. And also for those teachers to go into schools and provide yoga to the kids, but in a way that doesn't shame them or doesn't make them feel about themselves because they can't put their body in a certain shape, but actually supports their well-being. So, and I will say that the yoga work for the trauma informed yoga work, and I enjoy yoga in different studios, and I've noticed even shifts in my teachers in the community, how they became to teach yoga in more trauma sensitive way. So it is truly a movement that will penetrate all the different layers of the community, from libraries to hopefully even some unexpected places like barbershops and yoga studios. So those are the, oh yes, and one more update. Again, as part of this work, we are partnering with the Deep Center, and as part of their Healing School initiative, we're going to bring a training for a 6-week course for teachers, educators in mindful self-compassion, but also as part of that, they will receive wellness stipends and tools to bring mindfulness tools to their classrooms. So again, all of this is part of this work, and we're just happy to be in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. I think the next person is Ms. Robinson.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I just have 3 really quick announcements from the front porch. We are going to be having our big day of love for single parents coming up very soon on Valentine's Day. We're doing this in partnership with the fabulous Jennifer Graham from Shelter from the Rain. Shelter from the Rain is a 501c3 that attends to the needs of single parents here in Savannah, and she's been doing it for a while, and she does a massively wonderful job. We're gonna need people on our Cupid crew to help decorate giant baskets for single parents who are doing very well on their case plans. We want to incentivize, we want to reward, our single parents who are doing well. And we're doing that by making these outrageously big, gorgeous Valentine's Day baskets for them and surprising them. So if you have any kind of decoration bug, or you're crafty at all, we'd love to have you. It's going to be on February 12th at 11:00 a.m. We can only take 6 volunteers. So if you're interested, please contact me as soon as possible. Hey, Jackie, I see. I see your message there. And then we also got, and this is probably something that's good for the coalition too, is we also just did receive a $2,000 donation, unsolicited, from the Victoria Neighborhood Association that is going to be able to allow us to add on to our technology access closet. I don't know if y'all remember, but we started the technology access closet about 7 months ago here, and it really is designed for our kids, our youth, to be able to bridge the digital divide for them. And what we're going to be doing is getting some more tablets, again, as incentives for children and youth performing well on their case plans. One more, the last one, is we're going to be hosting a barbecue drive-through chat and chew. For local law enforcement. We want to get more law enforcement referrals here at the front porch. We think the best way to do that is to do some outreach and education. And we're hoping to do that next week. But I will keep everybody abreast of that. So I'll put the times in the chat for the big day of love with Shelter from the Rain.
Thank you. Daniela Rodriguez, we're glad to have you this morning.
Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniela Rodriguez, and I am the Executive Director of Migrant Equity Southeast, and I just wanted to introduce myself. We are a new 501c3 And we help, our goal is to help not only the Hispanic, help and bring representation, not only for the Hispanic community in South Georgia, but also all immigrants in general. So if anyone has like a question about the work that we do, I'll be putting my information in the chat. So that is our goal. I keep mentioning we feel like that there is a big need in the Hispanic community, and this is the time to bring the change and to bring more representation for the needs of this community. Thank you.
So Daniela, let's follow up soon about the collective impact model that we put together, and especially the regional piece, because you'll have contacts and you'll have some feedback for us in that area. So I want to make sure that we follow up with you. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. And thank you to Beatriz for inviting me.
Yeah, great connector she is. Okay, Ms. Nita Penn, thanks for coming on this morning. We're glad to have you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Mr. Robert Simmons, for inviting me. Thank you, Lizanne, for having this coalition put together. Very happy to be here. I'm the director for the ACE, which is Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs, Women's Business Center. We've only been established since April of last year. So this year, coming up on a year, I've been in full business development mode, working with some of our community partners in the form of SCORE and SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center, Small Business Assistance Corporation as well. ACE is a CDFI that's based in the Cleveland, Georgia, North Georgia area. And so we are the only 2 women's business centers for the state of Georgia. The Metro Atlanta Center has been open for about 5 years. And so the Savannah region is the newest one that rolled out with the Biden administration, and we won the grant here. And I'm the director. I'm a Savannah, Georgia native, was a Rotary Scholar, International Baccalaureate student at Groves High School, Armstrong alum, all those great things. Mercer Pryor. I know. How you doing, Mayor Otis? Dr. Otis. I know when I saw you in the call, I was like, look at that, alumni, woo woo. But anyway, but no, I'm just super excited to be home, came home for this role specifically. I'm also ex-military. I served in the United States Army National Guard for New York and for Georgia. So I'm using my military experience, linguistic, human resources, warrant officer recruiter background to focus on BIPOC, low to moderate income women business owners. So that is the focus of our programming. However, we are also servicing veterans, and we're also servicing all women. So, and just excited to be here. Just a few things that I wanted to share. I have 2 decks that I would love to share. 1 deck, 1 flyer to share with everyone. If there is some sort of like a, I guess like a list or whatever, but yes, it's just an overview of what I've been doing, what we've been doing. I'm saying we, but it's me. Part of that is just making sure that I am able to use that experience that I have to break down more silos and to make things more integrated as it relates to social and racial equity work. Everything that I do is centered from a social and racial equity standpoint, centering the most marginalized people first. Today we actually have a webinar for business insurance for entrepreneurs. And I'm super excited about that. I'm building out a series called the Bailout Team, which stands for banker, accountant, insurance provider, and lawyer, which most entrepreneurs don't know that they need. So I'm doing more accessible, inclusive programming around the legitimization of your business with this type of team, right? February 14th, we're actually having a male allyship panel with 2 white collar guys and 2 blue collar guys. The 2 blue collar guys are a woodworker and a handyman entrepreneurs who are both veterans. And then the other 2 are, are both entrepreneurs, but in the nonprofit space and in the for-profit space. So just having some variety about that, about how men entrepreneurs can be more inclusive with women, helping women in their entrepreneurial journey, be that as a father and taking on more loads than their wife, or vice versa, whatever it is, just being more equitable in that. And then just having another event that's centered around notary, why you need to have a notary as a business owner, or what it means to start a business as a notary, because a lot of people are interested in that right now because of for lots of reasons, but that's a part of it. Profitability in real life around marketing and marketing analysis. And then two things I'm super excited about is we're building out one cohort for the woman-owned small business certification. And it's sponsored through the center. So it is for women who want to receive that type of certification to get federal contracts to compete in that space. And I'm covering the cost of paying the consultant for that. So there's a very intensive application that comes along with that, but you have to be at least 2 years in business, of course, beyond the startup phase. And I'm also building out a tech integrated recidivism project and a veteran outreach focus. So yes, I am high speed. It's a lot of things, but the point of it is so that we can do more interconnected things and so that it can go from being where it is, how it is, to being more integrated. So that's essentially it. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to send all this information out to you all so you can see the work that we're doing, what I intend to do, and how I'm building out the center and the relationships. But that is it. Thank y'all.
Nita, thanks so much. And I met you briefly on a call with Shelter from the Rain a while back when you did a presentation, and I was impressed then, and I'm even more impressed now. So the music that's playing in my head right now is That Girl Is on Fire. So I will we'll get back with you, because I think there's several different places, and I hope others who are on the call will reach out to Nita and get her pulled into the work that you're doing so that you can have some collective work together. And we appreciate you coming to the table this morning. We hope that you'll come back, and thank you. I'm
sorry, Lizanne.
No,
I've wanted to mention, and I forgot to mention, everybody's talking about volunteer things. I'm also the treasurer and newest board member for I Volunteer International, which is a tech nonprofit that's based in Savannah. Armstrong alum, Dr. Johnson, I feel is amazing. He was the last president for Armstrong Report, became Georgia Southern.
Yeah. But I actually met Napuna when he did his TED Talk. So yeah, thank you.
I have to get him on this call too, because there's so many of our organizations need a strong volunteer arm. You know what I mean? And so building that out to be more focused in our region is super important. And that's what we're working on. So funding first.
In the chat, Rita Harris has asked if you would share your email.
Yes, I will.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other updates? And I know that Dr. Johnson wanted to say a few more things, but any other updates before we get to that? Speak now or forever hold your peas and carrots. Okay. All right, Dr. J, the floor is yours.
I'll be very quick. I want to say that this meeting has been super encouraging, and it appears that 2022 can be a transformative year for the city of Savannah and its surroundings. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things. You're building a social movement. You are emphasizing collective impact. You're using a racial equity lens. You're committed to evaluation. You're committed to collaboration. You're committed to effective and efficient services. You can't ask for more than that rolled up into one initiative that is tying together multiple initiatives. And I just want to encourage people to remember those key things, because a social movement depends on a lot of stuff being coordinated, and collaboration, that word we started using in this community decades ago, it is the key. Collaboration is the key to know that we can't get to where we want to be without working together. And we've got so many moving parts that need to be coordinated, that it's going to be a interesting evaluative process to see how all of this turn out. So I just want to say that Maureen and Lizanne are two dynamos, and they keep things real and they keep them exciting. And so I'm glad to be on for the ride. And I'm going to be checking my list to see how we build this movement, you know, how we really concentrate on collective impact, how we use the racial equity lens, because it's important, because the disparities are real and they get in the way of the progress that we want to make, and how we use evaluation to help us understand how all of this fits together. So as a old academician, and you know how I am in these things, I just wanted to have an opportunity at this meeting, which is so important because we've had 62 different participants in this call to move forward in a unified, collaborative way so that we can, at the end of all of this, have collective impact that we can measure and that we can say in 2022, we made measurable changes in our community. So I thank you, Lizanne, for allowing me the ability to say this as a senior citizen.
Thank you, Dr. J. And, you know, when we started talking about this, and I'll just end with just a couple of comments. I called Shirley Roberts, who I think may still be on the call. And I asked her to come to the table. And I want to just thank her again for helping us walk through it, because sometimes it's hard to facilitate and be a member of the process. And Shirley really helped us to, as a group, bring our thoughts together. And we've got, we have this even crazy logic model that I'll share with you guys after our steering committee meets. And so we're just really grateful to her. And I'm very thankful for the work of Resilient Georgia and the foundation, the Patulic Foundation, for trusting us to take this big step. And so I'm grateful to all of you that are coming along with us on this. I do want to mention one piece of news that just came in this week, and that is we received word that we got it's a small grant through the Reinvestment Fund, and that's part of the Invest Health work that our community has been a part of since 2017, and it really helped us get the front porch across the finish line. And so we are about to embark on a new journey with 3 other communities: Stamford, Washington, Napa Valley, California, and Missoula, Montana. And the city of Savannah applied for a grant to study diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how other cities are implementing strategies and policies, and implementing policies as part of municipal work. So we just got the news that we got the grant.
Great.
So we will be bringing a cohort of people from Savannah to King County, Washington, and another smaller community outside of that, who have a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer, and who have already started embedding those policies inside their community and outside of their community. So we're going to look at it from a public-private partnership lens. And so I'll keep you guys posted. It's a very short time frame, so we have to spend the money, I think, by July. So our plan is to travel there, learn, come back, and have some meetings here. about what we learned. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. So that was a good, good news that came in the end of last week. Is there anything else for the good of the order before we close? Hearing none, we'll close the meeting. I want to say to all of you how grateful I am that I get to live here and work with all of you every day. It's such a joy. It is such a joy. And I'm so grateful that I get to work with so many smart people. They're doing such great work. So enjoy your 2222 day and be well and stay safe. And if we can help with anything that you're working on, please call on us. Have a great day.
Yeah.